Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the RoofCon Revolution show. I have got my good friend Becca Switzer here with us today. So good to have you with us, Becca.
Likewise, it's always a pleasure, John.
Yeah, it's always fun that we get to do these things and get to talk business and talk roofing and help contractors out. And I know that's what you live for, and I think we're in the same boat and like-minded in that way. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you.
absolutely.
So we're talking today a little bit about systems and processes and how important these really are for businesses and for roofing contractors in specific. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how you got into this because this is kind of a cool thing, I think, for owners to understand. But essentially, you saw a need for lack of a better word, there was a lack of systems, right, in
Yeah,
business contractors and roofing contractors, and kind of helped out bring this revolution of training together. You're kind of one of the pioneers,
yeah.
and so no, it's the reality of it. You've done a great job, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that and what kind of brought you into that, and then kind of what you're doing today that is helping contractors out and some advice you can give to them from
Yeah.
your perspective.
So, how this all really started was when I was 19, I dropped out of college because I started selling Cutco knives. And just for the summer, I thought I was just going to sell knives for the summer and go back to school. And ended up making so much money selling knives, basically cold calling, that I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing in college. Like,
The old
I just,
the old vector marketing. Yeah.
that's exactly right, vector marketing.
Yep. I know all about them. Yep.
I mean, it's a great, I mean, I have a kitchen full of Cutco still to this day. So they've got a great product. It's easy to sell.
Great
But
product.
yeah, absolutely. And so I got into doing Cutco, and through that process, I mean, I took it for granted at the time, but they make it so easy. Like the training is so good, so dialed. The recruiting system, it's just a giant machine. Like, especially if you get it onto the management side, everything is laid out for you. Like, you do this, this, this. This is what you say. This is how you do it at this time, and the whole thing just runs. Like, you don't have to. If you've got two brain cells to rub together, like, you can make a Cutco office run, right?
Right.
And so hop to like 2 years, and that's where I met my former husband at the time. You know, he was actually my manager, and we both were getting out of Cutco a couple years later. And we got approached by who at the time was the vice president of like the second largest storm restoration company nationally. And he was going to be breaking off and starting his own company. So what was he doing? He was poaching Cutco people, because Cutco people were just like already, you know, cut from the same cloth. We're like ready to go. We're trained in sales and so on and so forth. So he's telling us like, it's you guys are going to be naturals at this. It's so easy. You know, it's insurance restoration. The customers already have a need. They don't even pay for the product. Insurance pays for, 95% of it. It's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel. So we're like, cool, pack up all our shit. We move halfway across the country. Like, we started in Connecticut, and then shortly after is Pennsylvania. And we get there, and it was like, okay, go follow around Chris for a couple days and listen to him, record some stuff on your phone, and then like, here's a stack of contracts. You'll figure it out. Go knock 100 doors a day. It's a numbers game. And I was like, what? I'm like, I don't know anything about roofs. I know nothing about hail damage. I don't know anything about insurance claims. Like, I was 20, I think I was 22 at the time, or I was not even 22. I hadn't even hit my birthday yet. It was a month before my 22nd birthday. So I'm like, I am a college dropout that sold kitchen knives. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I get thrown to the wolves. And of course, like, I mean, I had no option. I had to figure it out. There was no backup plan. We didn't have another place to live. Like, we were balls deep in doing this. And so it was kind of frustrating because I looked at it from the outside and I go, wow, I see that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. People make a ton of money doing it. Even just a salesperson, if you're an individual salesperson, you literally can make six figures in 6 months selling roofs and take the rest of the year off. So it's this incredible opportunity, and yet no infrastructure. Like, I was seeing how these, even the big companies that were doing, the company that I started with, we did 6 or 8 million, I think, in the first or second year, which is not small for a startup company that's launching on it, right? Like, starting up with new people and stuff like that. And I was like, if this was any other industry, let's say real estate, let's say that, Remax wanted to hire me to go sell houses, they'd probably give me books, DVDs, a coach, they'd send me to a seminar. There'd be a million resources for me to learn how to do this job. But in roof sales, if you want to learn how to sell roofs, They literally throw you in a truck with Jared and say, listen, and then you're either going to sink or swim, right?
Right.
And so, very long story short, the first year after we started, we sold for 4 months, and I ended up selling like 650K. It was like 65 jobs, I think. And Trent, my former husband, was like, we're doing pretty well, like not knowing what the hell we're doing. What would it look like if we actually had training? Like, would you be down to go to a seminar or something like that? So I'm like, yeah. So we start Googling roof sales training, and Google's like, did you mean like how to change oil in your car? There's like nothing. There was no roof sales training out there. And we finally found one conference down in Texas. It was really small. We went and showed up, and there were like 22 people in the room or something like that. And at the end, people weren't really going up to the instructor and asking questions. They were coming up to me because I'd been chipping in like, oh, I've been in that position before. Here's what works for me, yada, yada. And so after all that, Trent was like, you're like really good at this, and you obviously have value to offer these people. Like, they're begging for your knowledge and your advice. I think you could do this. Like, you should do this. You should teach people how to do it. So I went home and I wrote my book, Diamonds in the Sky. And then from there, I'm like, okay, I'll make an online course. And then I started developing my advanced sales and supplement training program. Fast forward, now I have 6 programs. And nice. That's what I do is what I've done is I've just taken what is otherwise very complicated to figure out on your own, and I've turned it into a repeatable system for teaching salesmen, recruiting, supplementing, learning Xactimate, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's crazy about that story, though, is, and I don't know, how long ago was that this happened when you started?
I got into roof sales in 2010.
Okay, so it's been like 10 years. What's crazy, though, is the same problem still exists today. A little different, but it still exists. We've obviously, in 10 years, we've come a long way with our industry, with the CRMs and all the new stuff that's come out, which has helped bring some of that structure in. But it still doesn't matter how much structure you have with the CRM and everything else. You still have to put in your own pieces that are going to be implementable and repeatable and scalable. And that's the key to scaling. And this is what you're helping contractors with. And this is a problem that I see every day almost.
Right. Well, and something I always like to bring up to contractors is this. Okay, so business, it's not like all businesses actually are kind of the same, right? You've got value proposition, you have to have management, there's infrastructure, blah, blah. So I always like to have contractors use a good analogy to help them understand like how to frame their own business. And I say, think about what the most successful fast food restaurant is in the world. Everyone knows McDonald's, right?
Yep.
There's 38,000 locations. They do billions of dollars a year. And so I always pose the question and I say, look, this is not a trick question. I just want you to give me your answer. Why do you think McDonald's is so successful? And there's different answers, and I say, well, it's not because they're using grass-fed, organic, sustainably raised Kobe beef, right? Yep. Like, not the best ingredients, okay? It's not because they have Chef Gordon Ramsay and Rachel Ray in the kitchen back there. Right? And they don't have Harvard marketing degree students at the counter selling. They've got punk ass kids with green hair and nose rings who are stoned out of their gourd running the McDonald's, and the McDonald's does billions of dollars a year. So, therefore, taking all that in consideration, why do you think McDonald's is so successful?
It's the systems.
Bingo. Yeah. They don't have to have the best burger. They don't have to have the best employees. None of that matters because they have a repeatable system. They found out what works and they go, okay, we put food like this, we sell it like this, we market it like this. And then they just put people in the system. Now you don't have to look for talent. Like, that's the big thing that I want contractors to hear out of this example. Most contractors are in a position right now where they're relying on finding the right talented, motivated individuals. And if I can just find those right people and get them into my system, then my business will succeed. Well, good luck. You're looking and hoping to find somebody else that naturally just has all these things to run your company. That is not sustainable. And by the way, even if you find that person, what's to say they're not going to quit to go chase their music career, move to Costa Rica, die, retire, their wife gets a job on the other side of the country, right? So instead of looking for the right people, you have to implement the right repeatable systems and then just put people into the system. And they don't need to be the LeBron James. They can be a high school JV basketball player with heart and you put them in the system, and the system will run. And
Yeah,
then you
you're right. Yeah, you're right. And I'll say, like, when I was doing roofing as a contractor, I was guilty of the same stuff. Like, I didn't understand it, and it's not because, um, it was because I was never exposed to it. Like, I worked, when I was a kid, I did other stuff too. But when I went into construction and I got into roofing, it's like they're all the same businesses over and over and over again,
Yep.
and they're hiring entrepreneurs to basically run many businesses within their businesses. And they just want to process checks and build jobs. That's all they want to do.
Right.
They're not building all the tools that are making people successful. And then you have other people that are doing stuff completely differently in our industry that are making big changes and are being successful. And they're building these scalable companies that are doing 50, 60, $70 million a year.
Right.
And everything's so completely different in those businesses.
Right. Right.
And I think what it comes down to a lot of times too is the lack of knowledge, which is so cool that you're doing this. Coming into even where I'm at now, I'm in the balance claims office. Like, I'm in here right now in my office, and we have like 4 departments out there that are doing people that work here. I mean, there's 40 people that work out there, and they all have different tasks. They're not overwhelmed with things. They're not handing a file to one person and saying, here, take this file and run with it all the way through from beginning to end. There's all these different pieces to it, and it's what makes it successful.
Yes.
And scalable at the end of the day.
Well, and let's go back to the example I used before. So let's go back to McDonald's. When you go in McDonald's, the person who runs the drive-through just runs the drive-through. The person who wipes down tables just wipes down tables. The person who fries burgers and flips them is just doing that. They're not asking the person to wipe tables to also go take the drive-through orders, to also flip the burgers, to also clean the back, to do the dishes, right? They're not doing that. So you have, that's how if you look at even a car and you think about your business like a car, the steering wheel has one task: be a good ass steering wheel, right? The engine does one thing. We're not going to ask the tires to do what the engine does, but all of the pieces of the car need to work together to have a working car. So if you can look at your business in the same way and go, okay, instead of me just like throwing this Hail Mary and hoping that I hire this magical saint who comes down and can just do everything, instead, I go, how can I create an environment in my company with the tools, the infrastructure, and the support, right? And the information and the training so that anybody can enter my business. And if they say, hey, I'm willing to do this job, not I'm naturally able to do this job, because that's going to be an uphill battle. You're never going to find enough people who can just naturally do it. You have people who come in and go, just put me in, coach, show me what to do. And now you insert them into that system and it's easy. And if that person quits, no big deal. Put another person into the system. Like, that's how you run a business instead of just flying by the seat of your pants on hope.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, Becca, what do you think is the biggest hindrance that contractors have to doing this, to implementing systems in their business?
Lack of knowledge, lack of time. So most people don't even if they thought that they did, they don't have the knowledge to be able to teach somebody A through Z how to do this job. Like, let's talk about salespeople just specifically, okay? Let's say that you're hiring salespeople. Well, the person running the company probably entered the business just like I did, okay? Some dude was like, hey, you want to make 6 figures in 6 months? Come on. and they, by the grace of God, against all odds, figured it out, right? But now they're running their own company, and that's what they're hoping that other people can just do. The same thing. They're hoping they can just hire people. And, well, I had to figure it out, so will you. So then, even if they're a good salesperson, like, let's say that I'm a manager and I'm a great salesperson. I used to sell $1 million a year, and now I'm supposed to be the one teaching all these new salespeople. Well, I was never formally trained. And at this point, now I'm so good that I don't remember the basic fundamentals. So when brand new people come in who don't know their elbow from their asshole in roof sales, I'm trying to teach them how to make half-court shots with 2 seconds on the clock, because that's where I shine. But these guys haven't even dribbled a basketball before.
Right.
So there's lack of knowledge. There's lack of knowing how to teach it. Here's another thing I always like to bring up. Doing sales and teaching sales are completely different things. And if you want proof, here's a great example. John, you told me you're 34, right?
Yep.
So you're 34 years old. So for 3 decades, you've been speaking English, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. I ask you questions and words just flow out of your mouth. You don't have to right? Like think out about it. So you're doing great at it. You probably do it in your sleep sometimes. Cool.
I do.
Well, I've got, don't we all, we wake up and be like, what was I just saying? So I've got this classroom with 5 Japanese kids, never spoken a lick of English in their life. You've been speaking English for 30 years. You've got 5 days. Go ahead and teach them. And by the way, at the end, they're supposed to give a speech to Congress. Okay. What's going to happen?
Yeah, that's not going to work out very well.
But why not? You've been speaking English forever. You're a pro.
Exactly, but there's no way that someone from Japan is going to be able to do that. So
teaching it, exactly. Teaching it and doing it are 2 completely different things. And that's why so often people think, well, I'll just take my number 1 salesperson, put them in the place of sales manager, slap a name tag on them, and then be like, okay, Tommy, you tell all these brand new people what you do, and then they'll figure it out. Tommy can't do that. He can only show them what he does, and it doesn't make sense to a brand new person. So let's go beyond that. Let's say that somebody does have all the knowledge necessary. They do know everything to teach. Okay, well, you're running a roofing company. You've got a production manager, crews. You got a real life outside of this, and you're supposed to be teaching your salespeople. You're running supplements, invoicing, accounting. You're managing all this stuff, and you're telling me that you're going to have enough time to sit down and write a comprehensive, effective, corporate-style formal training system? Do you know how long it took me to do it? And I've been through Cutco, and I had Cutco and Vector Marketing's like their training. So I was able to take that and turn it into storm restoration. It took me years to do that.
Yeah.
And I was spending, 10 to 15 hours a day just sitting at my computer, typing. Okay. So those are the biggest 2 handicaps business owners have. They don't actually have the knowledge, even though they think they do, right? Even if they are really great salespeople, they don't have the knowledge to teach sales. And then second is they frankly don't have the time. So I'm a huge believer in my personal life, like buy cheat codes. I was saying this yesterday. I was on a sales call. I'm like, buy the cheat code. If somebody else has figured this shit out, like I'm not going to go, and if I want light bulbs in my house, I'm not going to go and try to make my own light bulb. I'm just going to go buy light bulbs that other people have made, right? Right. Yes, I have to spend some money, but it's way less.
Well, we all want those Edison bulbs now, though. So, I mean,
I got some of those too.
Those are the best.
I got some of those too. They do an ambient glow.
They do. They do have a nice little hue to them. But so we're really big in training and systems and scaling. That's a big part of what RoofCon is all about. That's what we really push, is bringing minds like yours, and basically getting this information to contractors. So we talked about their lack of knowledge. We talked about the time. I think that a lot of it too is the self-awareness aspect. I think contractors, they don't know what they don't know because they don't know it, and they're just so they lack the self-awareness a lot of times to actually see that they don't know it. They just think, well, we're going to make this happen one way or another. We're gonna build this business. It's going to take us a long time. And I'm a huge fan, like you said, cheat codes. Yeah, you can pay and basically move a lot quicker and all this. And I'm a proponent of it. I know that my clients love it. Your clients love it once they do it. Yeah. But it's getting past that initial step, like the self-awareness. How do you know that your business is not going to thrive?
Well, look at how much you can look at it in like opportunity costs. That's what I always do. Like if you're a business owner, and it's easy, you just put it into perspective like this. Let's say that you know some stuff about supplementing, but you have at least the humility and self-awareness to go, I know that I probably don't know everything, okay? Even if there's just one line item that I'm missing, that I just don't know how to get, or I didn't know that it's even an exact way or whatever. So then you do the math, and this is what I do. I say, all right, let's say that you're a small contracting company that only does $1 million a year. You've got 3 guys who do, 350 or something. So you do 100 claims, and you're missing one line item that's costing you $250. That's nothing, right? That's like less than a generator. That's 25 grand.
Yep.
25 grand. That is somebody's part-time salary. That's a new truck. So if you can look at yourself and honestly say, okay, how much is one line item worth on all my claims? How much is one salesperson worth? I would pay $20,000 to learn how to get $25,000 in my business this year because I'm making $5,000 from it.
Yep,
Right.
exactly.
And so your opportunity cost, if you don't invest in systems, every single moment of every single day, you are literally losing thousands of dollars because your salesman could have gone out and gotten one more job. Your supplement could have been $2,000 more, right?
Oh yeah, and that makes a big difference, and we see that all day long on what people are actually leaving off the table and what things, and we all know that money at the end of the day doesn't necessarily equate to. It's not like you're gonna spend more to get that money. Now sometimes you do, but at the end of the day, like you should be installing drip edge anyways. You should
Right.
be installing Step Flash anyways. So where that money really is coming out of is it's coming out of your profit.
Yes.
That's straight up profit money that you're just not getting, and that's just supplementing, which is a great example of it.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, like, if I'm a roofing contractor and I'm watching this and I'm thinking, well, my business is doing okay, I should be fine without this. But in reality, like, how do you know, like, okay, I really do need this? What's got to be like that aha moment for the contractor? What do they have to look at in their business and say, she's right, like, I am missing this, like, here's how I know that my processes are broken and that they're not scalable?
Poor retention. Okay, well, this depends on what part of the business we're talking about, but let's start with your sales team. Poor retention, people quitting really, really quickly, poor morale, poor results. Like if your average salesperson is doing less than, I think the industry average for a salesperson is literally like 350 or something. They don't do that much, right? But if like most of your salespeople are even below that, and you don't have some guys that are doing 800, 750, a million and a half, like there's something wrong there. If you feel like you're constantly struggling to recruit people and keep them, that's a big red flag. But the other thing, like with supplementing, there's always something you're missing. And so look at it like this. Even if you feel like you're doing pretty well with supplementing and you know there could be that one thing I'm missing, well, if you've got those 100 claims, if 100 days out of the year I saw $250 laying on the ground, would I walk over it?
Yeah, right.
Oh no. I'd be like, $250, sweet. So like for me, when you ask the question, how do they know without a doubt? Well, I think that really comes down to kind of the self-awareness thing that you're saying. It asks yourself the question, is it possible and likely that there's something I don't know? And then do the math on it. Like, what's the opportunity cost across the board here? Because if you're struggling, you've only got 2 salespeople, and you know that you're equipped to have 5 to 8, well, why can't you get beyond that 2 mark? Why are people quitting? Why are people leaving and going to a different company? What's going on there? We want to make it as easy as possible for people to succeed in our business, because when people are succeeding, they don't leave. When they're happy and they're getting paid and they know how to do their job, they're not going anywhere. Right. So retention is a great symptom. Like if you've got poor retention, you have to just suck it up and go, maybe it's not that everybody I hire is lazy and stupid. Maybe I'm not providing the necessary tools and training for them to succeed. And your supplements, I can make it quantifiable, but if your average supplement is not $4,500 or more, then there's easy shit that you're missing. That's an easy one. So do some math. Be honest about what your results are looking like and what your experience is.
Man, that's such great advice, and I think that's the first step into understanding what it is you need to do as a contractor. Becca, thank you so much for being here and enlightening us. Hopefully, we can get you on for some more stuff with RoofCon. I know that Hunter and them are excited about this interview and about us being able to do this. And this is awesome. You've got so much knowledge, and you're sharing it, and you're so good with that. And I really appreciate you for this.
Thank you, John. I appreciate you saying so, and it is my pleasure. I like for me, I think that the real gift that I have to offer is just helping people to understand things in a different framework. So if I can help anybody look at their business like McDonald's and then go, oh, that makes sense, or look at it through the lens of what's my opportunity cost, I know that helps light bulbs go off. And so that's what I'm here for. And of course, anybody who's listening, you can go to roofsalesmastery.com to check out those programs and stuff like that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Becca. Appreciate you, what you're doing to the industry and helping everybody out. We need people like you so desperately, and I appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you again.
Thank you. Absolutely.